the main explosion is like it has a couple of changes, and it's really something that I really like. But as I mentioned, these two songs, the Phantom 2 is more of music enthusiast, not mainstream listening itself. The Light of the Seven is actually a song from a show, and that will be the line that I will be inclined to create melodies. And I bring up these two songs because that's what I will be trying to work. And I don't see that kind of work like going somewhere unless I could fit it into some sort of a film. That's not far-fetched, even though if it could be way harder, but it's not far-fetched from where I could eventually aim with music. It's not that I'm gonna be like gone forever from music. There's something that I have to do, but let's say, for example, right now I said last year that I was gonna start building tracks again, and I have an HP tower in which I have FL Studio, and I have loved FL Studio like forever, and I started working on some tracks. I started remastering, remixing some of the tracks, but then work came by, trying to live by, trying to do so many things, and the thing is that everything got stuck. Everything got stuck, and it was like work, podcast. I tried to save the podcast from one hand, and then it was only work. And trying to see how could I make my family thrive, how could I do better. And then my father died. We are talking here about 2018. My father died, and then when we got sent back to Caguas, I was expecting that in the job that I was kind of expecting that by going back to what I was working in Guaynabo, which is almost an hour commute from Humacao, which is where I live in the moment, and we were moving to Caguas, which was the original center, because the original center, when Maria came, it was completely destroyed. That's why we were partially in Guaynabo. So when we were coming back to Caguas, I was like, okay, this is awesome because I will be saving some money on gas. And now I could I could work better. I have friends of co-workers that were helping me. I can lend you the house if you need a private space, because I have my beautiful two dogs, Luna and Lara. And, sometimes trying to do a podcast at home is a little bit hard. So I have to use outside locations from my home, so I could be in a place that is as quiet as I could make it. I know you can hear some noises, but I try to make it as quiet as possible. If I would have been doing it in my house, it would be a little bit hard on that part, and I cannot tell the whole street to shut up, and that's why I use external locations to record the podcast. So the thing is that when we go back to Caguas, there was an entire department downsizing, and from 40 hours we were almost laid down to 25 to 28 hours. I have my father, I have the incident with my father. I have his passing, and that was something that we were not counting on. And when that happened, it was like I got sunk in this identity crisis, and it was really bad to the point that I didn't know. And this whole point that we're talking about, this temptation of doing music, starting to kick in, because my father was a really great musician. He practically, even though he had a cerebral stroke, he could perform. So it was something really, really huge on him. But the thing is that I was starting to ask myself, am I really a politician? Am I a musician? And I was trying to get into this point. How about a communicator? It's a little bit simpler, and you like to express things, and people like to hear you. And thank you for all of you people who are hearing this right now. But it's really hard, because I still have some of that struggle today. And that's what brings us to the real other temptation, which is politics. Politics, I started, my whole tenure, my whole budget, my whole trip on politics had been such an amazing ride, because at first it was the fact that I was more like a rebel, so I was mostly inclined to the left side of politics since my teenage years, and that quite didn't develop after high school. I started like going a little bit for myself. It's really ironic, but even though I had a really capitalist mentality, having money, earning money, doing big projects, and I was thinking mostly about myself. And the thing is that my first rush with politics, it was that my father was running for district number 37, that or I think it was 39, which is the district that has Carolina and Isla Verde. And I was at that time against the presence of the U.S. Navy in Vieques, so it was kind of a tense environment between me and my dad, but it never went to a disrespectful level. It never went onto a bad level. In fact, I got really amazing political advice from him throughout his life, and something that I'm really thankful for. And the thing is that politics started kicking in when the whole social media fever started, and it was like, what's on your mind on Facebook when I started around, to be honest, because the platform exists since 2004, but in Puerto Rico it started becoming a thing, I think it was around 2007. So when Facebook was going on and I was starting to get this grip, and I was starting to make this first joke that me for governor writing, but in a way, in my crazy mind at that time, I was thinking that, how about if this goes somewhere, then what are you gonna do next? And it was the question, and it kept like that, and it became a sort of a running gag or a running joke in my Facebook page, and I kept like ignoring it, and there were elections, and I was like, and then that's ironically how I started like involving myself in a little bit on an area of satirical political commentary. And I didn't know at that time that it was going to shift into a whole-blown political tenure in 2016. If you would have asked me that even at the beginning of 2015, I would have said you never in a lifetime. And there were these projects that they were really, really close to my heart. First of all, what is the legalization of marijuana in Puerto Rico, which is one of my milestones, one of my main fights. And I started through many people that you get to know along the way. I started to develop some appreciation for a lot of things that were going on in the Southeast area, but I was a little bit blindsided to the fact that that what I thought they were like community leaders, they ended up being like this really like these egomaniacs with plans and delirium of grandeur around them, and it was really hard because you were like finding out and you're really embedded in these projects, and it was like really something that kept holding me back. So in 2015 I had an incident in which I was trying to apply for a job. When I tried to apply for that job, I was denied that job, not because I didn't have the qualifications, because I got slammed with a drug test. And I was freshly doing cannabis, because one of the reasons that I have explained in my particular personal case of why I do cannabis is because I don't like, I have a generalized anxiety, and I have a major severe depression. So I don't like to be like filling myself with chemicals. And what I do in those cases in particular is that I mostly have found a relief on medical marijuana. In that case, because it wasn't approved by then, was mostly marijuana. So I got slammed with a drug test, and that moment I already had met la licenciada Sharif Repullo, which is the founder of Free Juana, of the Free Juana movement. And I started like, hey, can I give you some arts? And then I had a personal incident in which what I wanted to do is that I didn't want to have a project died. And the thing is that in the meantime I was also kind of realizing, but not in the meantime, it was when I made the decision I wanted to give a shot to politics. I say at least it's going to give me some sort of an exposure, and it's going to be letting me sell myself and try to make something better of what I'm doing right now. In 2014, I quitted I used to be a promotions manager, and I quitted that job because I wanted something more. I wanted more financial freedom. And so therefore I wanted to to invest myself completely in a project that will, give me that financial stability that I've been looking for so on. So in 2015 I had that situation. I had the situation of this initiative that I wanted to help, and I had my personal reasons to go and gave it a shot. And I remember I asked my girlfriend, who's still with me, I don't know how, because it was crazy times. And the thing is that when we talk about it, it was like, if you want to do it, like, I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to tell you to don't do it. But the thing is that it started when I got fully invested on it. I tried to make so many huge things, and I came up short in so many ways. And I never, there's people on the street, and I'm sorry that I'm interrupting the way that I'm flowing through the story, but it's really hard because even up today, there's people still asking me, are you going to run for politics again? Are you going to run for politics? And it's the same people that sometimes I wish they were like going forward to me and telling me, hey, I want to, why don't you go back to music? And it's the fucked up thing with this whole temptation thing, because the thing is that I want people to tell me, are you going to do music again? And people keep asking me about politics. And politics, it was such a fucked up ride. Because I was talking to this friend of mine. I don't want to put out names because this is kind of personal, and I don't want to get involved, and I don't want to rehash some old beefs and shit like that, because I want to be as fast as to it. And the thing is that in October I made the decision. I made and gathered an activity in which I officially announced that I was running for Puerto Rico congressman for the district number 35, which is compounded of Nahuabo, Macao, and Las Piedras. And I did the decision because I felt I could get something. And from the beginning of it, I never knew. I always knew I wasn't gonna win. Because I've been living in Humacao most of my life, if not my entire life. And even in the times that I have not lived in Humacao, I've been still here enough to know that Humacao, in the way that it votes, is really traditional. That was one of the reasons why when I saw the outcome of it, I was really emotional, because to be honest, my expectancy was around 100 to 200 votes, to be completely honest. But in the beginning, when I made the running official, I was like, okay, let's go with it. And when it started on January, I had hope.